Alright, so in this Unity beginner tutorial, we're going to create a shooting script. So let's just get started. First of all, we're going to right click in a hierarchy window and we're going to create a sphere. So create a sphere like this. Now let's move it next to the weapon and zoom in a little bit with our wheel. And let's move it in front of a cannon. Alright, this is going to be fine. Now let's rename the sphere. So we're going to name it cannon bullet like this. And now what we're going to do is we're going to resize this bullet to the same size as the cannon. So we're going to go for 0.4 like this. And I think this is going to be fine. Let's just move it next to the cannon. Yeah, I think this is going to be fine. Let's make it a little bit more smaller. Maybe 3.5 like this. And this is going to be fine. Alright, so now let's change the color of it. So we're going to go over here in our project folder, right click, create a new material, add the material, name it cannon bullet material, like this, and apply this material to the object. So to apply it, just click over here, select the cannon bullet, and drag it over here like this. Now as you can see, the color has been changed, so go back to the material, over here, select it. Now we can actually change the color of it, just drag it down. And now it's black. We can also make it more shiny. To make it more shiny, change the smoothness. So, for example, like this. I think this is going to be fine. This is going to be our cannon bullet. Now let's add a script for it. So let's go over here. We're going to add a new component. And we're going to name it bullet logic. Create a new script. Create an add. And open the script. Alright, so first of all, what we're going to need for our bullet is a rigid body. So we're going to link a rigid body to the script. So we're going to type public rigid body. And we're gonna name it RB in our script like this. Now we're gonna go back to Unity and we're gonna actually add a rigid body. So just click add component, type rigid and add the first one. Like this. Now we're gonna freeze the x-axis, z-axis and y-axis. Like this. And now let's link this rigid body to the script. To link it, just drag and drop this over here. So we just dragged the cannon bullet to over here and now this rigid body is linked to the script. Alright, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're just gonna create a script to move the bullet forward. So to do this, we're gonna type rb.linearVelocity equals transform.forward. Alright, so this is gonna calculate for us how to move the bullet forward even if we change the rotation. Alright, so now let's save the script, go back to Unity and press play. And as you can see, the bullet starts moving, but it's way too slow. So to make it faster, let's go back to the script and we're gonna type public int speed equals 30 like this. Save it and multiply this by speed like this and save it. Go back to Unity and now if you scroll down under the script, as you can see, we have speed over here. You can change the speed of the bullet over here. And now if we press play, as you can see, the bullet starts flying. Okay, so this is going to be fine. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a prefab out of this object. So to do this, just drag and drop this to the project folder like this. And now we can actually delete the bullet over here. And when we're going to be shooting, we're going to be cloning this object to the scene on the position that the cannon is. So to do this, first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to click on weapons over here and we're going to create a script for it. So the script name is going to be shoot logic like this. Create a new script, create an add, open the script by double clicking it. Alright, so now let's go over here and we're going to link the prefab to the script. So we're going to type public game object bullet like this, save it. Go back to Unity and now just drag and drop it over here. Now the cannon bullet has been linked to the script. And now if we go back to the script, we can actually create the code to shoot. So we're going to type if input.get mouse button down and in brackets we're going to type 0. This means the left mouse button. And we're going to add these brackets. So now if this is true, it's going to run the code inside of this function and the update function is always looping. So update function is called once per frame. So it's always going to check if you press the left mouse button down. Now let's go over here and we're going to actually shoot the bullet. So first of all, we have to add more objects over here. So we're going to go over here and we're going to type public game object and we're going to name it bullet spawn point left. And we're going to copy this and paste it and type also right. Like this. Okay, so over here we're gonna also add a bool so we can actually keep track out of which cannon we shoot last time. So we're gonna type private bool shoot left cannon equals false. Alright, so we're gonna be setting this to true when we shoot with our right cannon and then we're going to set it to false when we shoot with our left cannon. So we're going to go over here and we're going to type if shoot left cannon equals true, and in these brackets we're going to type shoot left cannon equals false. So if it was true, we're going to set it to false, and in the else statement, which is linked to this if statement, so if this is not true, then it's going to run the code inside of the else statement. Over here we're going to type shoot left cannon and we're going to set it to true. So we're using this bool function to actually switch between the cannons. So one time you're going to shoot with the right cannon and the other time you're going to shoot with the left cannon. So now let's go back to Unity, and we actually have to create the bullet spawn points. So we're going to go to Unity and go to the scene view over here, and over here, as you can see, this is the cannon. So if you're using the same game object, just click on the arrow over here, click on egg object, click on weapons, and over here expand this by clicking the arrows, and you have the cannons over here. Alright, so these are the actual cannons, and we're going to add an empty game object. So just right click on it, create an empty game object, and we're going to type, so this is the left weapon, left bullet spawn point, like this. And now as you can see, it's located over here. This is going to be fine, and we're just going to do the same thing for the right cannon. So we're going to go over here, create a game object, and type right bullet spawn point, like this. Alright, so now we have two spawn point, and as you can see, this is located at the end of the cannon. So for example, we have a different game object. If it's located over here, make sure to center it over here at the end of the cannon. We're going to set this to 0 because my position on the 0 is over here, and this is going to be fine for our bullets. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to link this object to the script. So we're going to go back to weapons over here, that we have the shoot logic script, and we're going to link it to the script. So for the left one, just go over here and link it over here. If you can't see the name, just expand this like this. And now we also have to link the right one like this, and this is going to be fine. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our script, and now we can actually create a script to actually shoot. So we're going to go over here, we're going to type instantiate. So instantiate is used to clone objects, so we can actually clone the bullet. So we're typing instantiate, and first of all we have to type which object we're cloning, so we're going to type bullet. And now we have to type the spawning position, so we're going to type bullet left spawn point dot transform dot position, like this. And now we also have to type the rotation of the bullet, so we're going to type bullet spawn point left dot transform dot rotation, like this. Okay, so this is it. Now we can just copy this, paste it over here for the right cannon, and change this to right. And also change this one to right, like this. Save it, go back to Unity, press play. Now if you click the left mouse button, we're actually shooting, and it's switching between the cannons. Alright, so this is going to be fine. We're going to increase the size of the bullet a little bit, so we're going to go back to over here. We're just going to set this to 0.4, like this, and just copy it to the rest of the axis, like this. Okay, so now as you can see, we can actually shoot infinitely. There's no delay between bullets, so to add a delay, we can go over here, and we can actually type we can add a private float delay and set this to 0 by default. So this is going to be our delay for shooting. So over here in the update function above the if statement, we're gonna add another if statement. So if the delay is bigger than 0, then we're gonna type delay equals delay minus time dot delta time. So delta time is actual time. So if you type 0.1 in the delay, it's going to take 0.1 seconds to actually reach 0. So over here we can also add an else statement like this, and we can just cut this and paste it in the else statement like this. And now if the delay is 0, it's always going to run the else statement. So this means that if the delay is higher than 0, then it's not going to shoot, but if it's lower than 0, then it's going to shoot. So this means that this code is not going to run that when the delay is higher than 0. So if we add a delay over here, for example, we can add a delay equals 0.3 seconds like this, and also copy and paste it over there like this. Now the player is going to be able to shoot every 0.3 seconds. Now if we go back to Unity, press play and shoot, as you can see, it takes 0.3 seconds between shoots. We can also lower this delay and maybe set it to 0.1. Like this, press play and shoot. And as you can see, this is gonna be fine. Alright, so now we're gonna create an animation for the cannons. So we're gonna go under the weapons over here, and we're gonna add a new component. So we're gonna be adding an animator. So animators are used to basically switch between the animations. So for example, when the player is not gonna be shooting, the cannons are gonna be still. But when the player shoots, the cannon is gonna move up, and it's gonna be a little bit of a recoil. So we're gonna be transitioning from an idle animation to a shooting animation. So Animator allows you to add multiple animations. So let's just create an animator over here. Right click, create, and under animations, add an animator controller. Over here we're gonna name it shooting animator. And now we're gonna be linking it. So just click on weapons and drag and drop it over here like this. Alright, so this is our animator. So if you don't have this window over here, for example, we just close it. You can go under the window and select animation and animator like this. Now the animator has been added. If it's not added, if you just like this, then just drag and drop it over here like this. We will also be needing animations, so we need this window over here. If you don't have this window over here, then go under window, animation, and animation like this. And now just drag and drop it over here like this. Now as you can see, we have animations. So over here we're going to be creating animations, and over here we're going to be linking the animations between them. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to create an idle animation. So when nothing's happening, we're not going to move the cannons. So we're going to go over here, we're going to create an idle animation, and we're going to name it idle cannon like this. And in the idle animation, we're going to not move anything. So basically, we're just going to go over here and we're going to save the position of the cannon. So we're going to save the position. So over here, we're going to start recording keyframes. So keyframes are basically, you can save the movements between the seconds. So over here, as you can see, this is 0.05 seconds. So we're going to go to 0. So we're going to go to the first frame. The first frame is over here, as you can see, 0. You can also type 0 over here to go to the first frame, and we're just going to save the position. So to save the position, we're just going to click over here to start recording everything. So now that everything is red over here, we're recording. This means that the movements are going to be saved into the animation. So we're going to go over here and we're going to change this to 1 and set it back to 0, set it to 1, set it back to 0, and also set it to 1 and change it back to 75 like this. And now as you can see over here, the position has been saved, the rotation has been saved, and the scale has been saved. Now we're going to do the same thing for the other cannon. So we're going to go over here, set this to 1 and set it back to 0, set it to 1, set it back to 0, set it to 1, and change it back to 75 like this. Now as you can see, the position and rotation and the scale has been saved. So this is the default position and rotation and scale. Click on the first keyframe to select everything. So click over here, we're going to copy this, use your keyboard to do that, and go to the first frame over here. So select everything, copy, go to the first frame and paste like this. We made two of the same keyframes because now it's going to be easier to transition between animations. So now we can click over here and we can actually create our shooting animation. So create a new clip, and over here we're going to type shoot L cannon like this. So this is going to be our shooting animation for the left cannon. And if you go under the animator window over here, now as you can see, two animations have been added and we can actually link the animations between them. So this is the idle animation. This is the animation that's going to run by default when you start up the game. And then we're going to be able to transition between the animations. First of all, let's create the shooting animation for the left cannon. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the third frame. Just go to 3 over here, type 3 and start recording. And now we're going to go to the left cannon. So this is the left cannon and we're going to actually move it. So to move it, so what we're going to do now is we're going to change the position, rotation and scale of it to make the animation. So we're going to go over here and the position is going to be minus 0.7 like this. The y-axis are going to be 2.48 and the z-axis are going to be 2 like this. We're also going to change the rotation of it. The rotation is going to be minus 39. And also on the y-axis, we're going to change it to minus 15 like this. And also we're going to change the scale of it to 100 like this. Now, as you can see, the starting position has been saved to the 0 keyframe. So if you go over here, it goes back, and this is going to be our shooting animation. So when you shoot, it's going to do this. Now we also have to create a keyframe so we can actually change it back. And we also need to freeze the position, rotation, and scale on the right cannon. So we're going to go over here, click on cannon 1, under weapon R, and we're going to set this to 1, and set it back to 0. Set this to 1, set it back to 0. Set this to 1, and set it back to 75, like this. Now we can copy this, we can go to the 15 frame, so type 15 over here, and we're just gonna paste this, like this. Alright, so this is gonna be our shooting animation. So when you shoot, the cannon is gonna go like this, and it's gonna go back now. Alright, so we're gonna do the same thing for the right cannon, so we're gonna go over here and create a new clip, and we're gonna name it shoot R cannon. Like this, create it, go to the third frame, and over here, select the right cannon. And we're going to do the same thing, start recording, go to the third frame. And we're going to change the position of it first. So the position on the x-axis is going to be 1, 1.54. And this is going to be fine. Now we also have to change the rotation. So the rotation is going to be minus 20. And also 13 on the y-axis, and we're also going to change the scale to 100, like this. Right, now let's go back to the 0 frame, and we're going to freeze the positions for the left cannon. So go over here, change this to 1, change it back to 0, change this to 1, change it back to 0, change this to 1, and change it back to 75. Now we're going to copy this, so select the first keyframe over here to select everything, and go to the 15 frame and paste it over here. And now we can actually stop recording, so click over here, and we just stopped recording. Alright, so now we have two animations. If you go back to the animator, as you can see, we have two animations over here. If these haven't been added yet, you can go to the project window over here, as you can see, and we can just drag and drop this over here, as you can see. Now that the animation has been added, I'm going to delete this because I already have one over here. And now we can actually link these together. So to transition between the idle animation and the shooting animation, we actually have to make some arrows. So we're going to go over here, we're going to drag and drop this over here. And we're going to go to any state over here. So this means that when you shoot, it's going to immediately transition to the shooting animation, no matter in which animation you are. So we're going to go into any state and right click, make a transition, and click over here. We can also do the same thing for the right cannon. And now we're going to have to transition from the shooting animation to the idle animation. So to do this, make a transition and click on idle animation. Do the same thing for the right cannon, like this. And now we're going to take a look at the transition. So click on this arrow over here, and under conditions, we're going to actually add a condition. So we're going to go under parameters over here. Over here, we're going to add two triggers. So click on the plus over here, add a trigger, and name it shoot R, and also create another trigger, shoot L, like this. Alright, so now we have two conditions, and when this condition is true, it's gonna play this animation. So to do this, click on this arrow over here, so this is for our left cannon, and add a condition, click the plus over here, and now select shoot L over here, and do the same thing for the right cannon, click on over here, add a condition, and as you can see, it has been already added. Alright, so now we have to go under the settings, so click settings over here, and the transition rotation, we're going to set this to 0, and also go over here and set the transition rotation to 0. Now we're going to go to this arrow, so this is transitioning back to the idle animation, and we're also going to change the transition rotation to 0, and change the transition rotation to 0 over here too. Alright, so this is it. Now we have to add the animator to our script to actually trigger these parameters. We're going to go over here, and we're going to type public animator, and we're going to name it the lowercase animator, like this. Save it, go back to Unity, go to the weapons over here, and drag and drop this over here. Now this animator has been added to the script, and now if we go back to the script, you can actually scroll down, and over here, this is the left cannon. We're going to type animator dot set trigger, and in brackets we have to add this symbol, and we have to type the name of it. So we're gonna go back to Unity. We're just gonna double click over here, copy this and click somewhere else. And now we're gonna go back and paste it over here. All right, so this is gonna be our first trigger. Now we're just gonna copy this and paste it over here. And now we're gonna change this to R. And now if we go back to Unity, go to the game window, press play. All right, so now as you can see, you have shooting animations. So if you go under the animator, as you can see, the idle animation is constantly running. And when the player shoots, for example, if he shoots with the right weapon, for example, this animation gets triggered, and as you can see, the animation runs and goes back to the idle animation. All right, so now we're also gonna add an effect when the bullet actually hits something. So to do this, we're gonna go back to over here and go to the scene window, and we're actually gonna add a wall. So over here, we're gonna right click, we're gonna create a 3D object, and we're gonna create a cube. Like this. Now we have a little cube over here. So this is going to be an object that we're going to be able to shoot in, and we're going to create an effect when the bullet actually hits the object. So we're going to resize this to 10 and also on the y-axis to 10 like this. So this is going to be our wall, and if you go to the game window, as you can see, the wall is over here, further back like this, maybe a little bit more. All right, this is going to be fine. All right, so now we're actually going to create an effect when the bullet actually hits the object. So to create an effect, we're going to use particles. So just right click over here, create a new empty game object, and we're going to name it bullet hit effect like this. And now add a component, and we're going to add a particle. So add particle system like this. And as you can see, we have particles over here. So in this case, we're going to go first of all under the renderer, and over here under material, we're going to choose, we're going to scroll down. And over here, we're going to use sprites. You can also type sprites over here and add this one like this. Now we have this effect. So in this case, when we hit the wall, the bullet is going to explode. So we're going to go over here on the shape, and under the shape, we're going to select a sphere. All right, so this is going to be fine. Now we're going to change the color to black, and we're going to check over here size over lifetime, and we're going to click on size. And we're going to change this to bigger to smaller like this, and maybe make it a little bit smaller. And we also have to change the emission, so click on emission, and over here we're going to set it to 100 and also change the speed of it. So to change the speed of it, we have to go under start speed, and we're going to set this to 40. The rotation of the animation is going to be 0.1 and disable the looping. Now if you click restart over here, as you can see, we have an explosion, but we need to make more particles. So to make more particles, just increase the rate over time to, let's say, 300. And now we have an effect. But I still think that the shapes are a little bit too big when you start off. So we're going to go and change this a little bit further down like this and restart. We can also change the lifetime. So the lifetime is actually going to change how long the effect actually takes. So we're going to change this to 0.3 seconds like this. Now that we decrease the size, we can also increase a little bit more emission. So we're going to go over here, and we're going to just set this to 500 like this, and also maybe increase the size a little bit. Maybe that was a little bit too much. So set this to this and restart, and this is going to be fine. All right, so this is going to be our effect. The effect lasts 0.3 seconds. And now, so we don't have a lot of objects over here, we're going to delete this effect after some time. So we're going to go over here, we're going to add a new script, and we're going to name it destroy or time. Using this script, we're actually going to delete this object after the animation is over. So after 0.3 seconds, we're going to delete this object. So just open destroy over time. Over here, we're going to add a public float and name it delay. And we're going to set this to 0 by default. Over here, we're going to type destroy. So this is actually going to delete the game object from the game. So destroy and game object with the lowercase. This means that the game object that this script is linked to is going to be deleted from the game. And now we also can add the time. So we're going to type delay over here. And maybe let's set the default to 0.3. Now we can actually go back to Unity. And if you scroll down, as you can see, 0.3 seconds has been added over here. You can also change it over here if you want. So after 0.3 seconds, this game object is going to be deleted. Maybe let's add 0.35 like this. So the effect is definitely going to be over when this object gets deleted. Now we can just drag and drop this over here to create a prefab and delete it from the scene. Like this. And now we can actually go to the Canon prefab over here and we're going to open the script. So bullet logic script, double click it and open it. Now we're going to go over here and we're going to add a public game object and name it bullet explode effect. Like this. Save it, go back to Unity, scroll down, and now as you can see we can link a game object. So click over here on the Canon bullet prefab and drag and drop the bullet effect hit over here. Now the bullet effect has been added, and now over here we're gonna add a code, so actually when you hit an object it's gonna explode. Okay, so over here we're gonna type private void on collision enter, and in these brackets we're gonna type collision and we're gonna name it other. So Unity is automatically gonna run this function when the collider that's on the same object as the script actually hits another collider. So now we actually have to add the code what happens when the object actually hits something. So we're gonna go over here and we're gonna destroy the game object. So we're gonna type destroy, and in the brackets we're just gonna type game object. So by using this we're actually destroying the bullet. And now we're gonna go above this line, so we're gonna go over here and we're gonna actually clone the effect. So we're gonna type instantiate, so we're cloning the effect. And over here in the brackets we have to type bullet explosion effect, so we're cloning this effect, and we have to type the position where we want to actually spawn this effect, so we're going to type game object dot transform dot position, so we're spawning the game object on the same position as this object, and we also have to type the rotation of it, so we're going to type game object dot transform dot rotation. So we're spawning the effect at the exact same position and rotation as this object. And in the next line of code, the object gets deleted, so it's just the effect. So now if we save this, press play, and if we shoot, as you can see, if the bullet hits the wall, it actually gets destroyed. Alright, but we still have a bug. So for example, if we move closer to our character, and if the bullet actually hits our character, it's gonna explode immediately. So to prevent this from happening, we're gonna go over here, and we're gonna go under the egg over here. So this is our player object, and under tag, we're gonna set the tag to player. So this is the tag of the object, and over here in our bullet logic script, we're gonna check if the tag of the game object is not player, then it's gonna explode. So if the bullet hits our own player, nothing's gonna happen. So we're gonna type if other. So other is basically the other game object that we hit with our bullet. So if other game object dot tag. So if the tag of the game object that we just hit is not equals to player, so if it's not player that we hit with a bullet, then we're gonna run this code. So we're just gonna cut this and paste it over here. Like this. Now save it. If the bullet hits a game object and the game object doesn't have a tag player, then it's gonna spawn the explosion effect and it's gonna destroy the bullet. So now if we go back to Unity, press play, and if we try to shoot our own character, as you can see, this is still working. We can still shoot, the bullet doesn't explode, and if we shoot the wall, as you can see, the bullets explode. Alright, so this is gonna be fine. Alright, so this is it for this tutorial. If this helped you, please leave a like on the video. In the next tutorial, we're gonna be adding a zombie to the game. So if that's something you're interested in, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.